Welcome back. Sorry, it's network. Please, let's continue. I know you are not seeing it. I want to share the slide. Sorry. Don't worry, you will see it. Relax, relax. Don't worry.
These people are just firing me.
Hey, who is firing you?
They are just firing me.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. I said the load of material carried by a river are the main agents of denudation or erosion. Please, let's try to look at it. Let's avoid any form of distraction, please. Now, hydraulic action is one major form of river erosion. Now, what is hydraulic action? Praise, I don't have remote control to give you. Praise. Now, one major form of river erosion is hydraulic action. Now, this is a process by which fast-flowing water forces itself into cracks and crevices, that is, cuts or cracks on the wall or within the valley. Now, when these cracks open, it tends to force water. Water tends to pass through it. Any opening on a crack that water can pass through and enlarge that crack, that process is known as hydraulic action. Now, hydraulic action is one process of river erosion because it allows water to flow. Praise, be careful. I need to remove this board. Come and remove this boy from his distracting like this.
It's noisy. It's noisy.
Process of a river transportation. Now, for the process of a river transportation, I said we have two major definitions in physical geography and in human geography. For human geography, it has to do with the movement of people and people from one place to another. But for physical geography, it has to do with the movement of deposited material from their initial position as water flow to another position, thereby creating or developing a land form. Now, for the process of river transportation, the material transported by a river are called load. The transportation of the load is undertaken in 4 ways. 1, we have suspension. Now, for suspension, it takes place when smaller particles, such as silt, mud, are carried in suspension as the water flows along the river. Now, you know what a mud is. A mud is like a marshy area that is filled with clay. Now, as water flows, they tend to break They flow a little and stop. Flow a little and stop. We call it what? Suspension.
You know.
Under processes of river transportation. Now we are going to look at the next point, which is on saltation. The next point is on saltation. Now for saltation, this is the process where large particles are moved in series of hoops and jump along the river bed, touching the river bed and sides at intervals as they are transported. Now, this saltation, when particles are moved in series, just like the way horse move in hoops. You see them as if they are jumping. The same way saltation takes place in a river. You see the water will flow up and then flow down, and then later flow up again and flow down in anticline and syncline form. And as this water moves in hoops, they tend to deposit material which creates new landform or deep gullies, because some of the materials are in different sizes. The next one we have under the process of river transportation is traction. Now for traction is a process where large fragments of materials are rolled or pushed along the bed of a river. Now, what is pushing those fragments? What is pushing those material? What is pushing that load is the force of the water. Now, it is only the force of the water that can allow traction to take place, thereby pushing the fragments or rolling the fragments as the river flow. We call that process as traction. Don't forget, I said this is a process where large fragments of material are rolled or pushed along the bed of a river. Now, traction is mostly experienced during heavy rainfall or when the force of a river increases. We are going to look at the next point, which is solution. Now, for solution, this is the process where certain minerals dissolve in water. Now, when I was explaining processes of river erosion, I explained solution. So we have solution as a point under processes of river erosion and also under process of river transportation. Because there are sediments that need to dissolve inside water before they can flow or before they can be transported. There are chemical materials inside water that need to dissolve from the upper course, passing through the middle course. Those ones that are not yet deposited at the upper course, middle course, are finally deposited at the lower course of a river. Majorly, we experience this in a limestone region. Now you can agree with me that some water tastes salty. Why? Because of the chemical reaction of some materials inside water. Somto, what is your question? Somto, what is your question? You raised your hand. Can I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Man's mistake.
Please, is a mistake? Okay,
Yes, ma'am, it's a mistake.
No problem. Now, from the class today, we picked on 2 subtopics. And I want to ask you this question. Differentiate between attrition and corrosion before I continue. Under process of river erosion. Pastor, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Please differentiate between.
Ma'am, my network was bad when you were when you were teaching that class.
Somebody also said the same thing. So who else? Or you want me to recap again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now listen. I will recap and I'll ask you this question. And I believe you will answer me. I said our topic today is on process of river erosion. We all know that erosion has to do with the washing away of what? The top surface of a soil or the top layer of the earth surface. Now, I also said that the load or material carried by a river are the main agents of river erosion. It means that erosion cannot take place on its own except there are materials carried by a river. These materials either rub on each other, collide on each other, or flow fast inside water due to the force of energy. I went further to explain the 4 processes of river erosion. I said the first one has to do with hydraulic action. And I said hydraulic action is the process by which flowing water enters through crack or cavity. As this water enters through crack or cavity, they tend to widen up the river. If you remember from the previous class, we said the work of a river at the upper course is majorly vertical corrosion. That is development of a V-shaped valley. In regards to that, I'm going to relate it with hydraulic action. Now that V-shaped valley that developed is a fault. And a fault means an opening. A fault in geography means a crack that has an opening. The ability of water to pass through this crack and widen up those cracks. Because a rock has a layer of soft and hard. So it is the soft rock that tends to dissolve fast, making that crack to widen up. This process, I said, is hydraulic action. The second one I explained, I said corrosion or abrasion. Now, this is the wearing away of the side of a river or the floor of a river. How is it done? The load the river carries, they are either in pebbles, boulders, sand, silt, or debts, which are being transported. Now, this, as they are being transported, look at this diagram on this slide. As the materials are being transported, they tend to collide or rub this area, rub the floor. Gradually, you discover that this place becomes wider, which forms a feature of the middle course of a river known as widening up of the V-shaped valley into a U-shaped valley, where you have your meander and your oxboleak. I'm trying to relate it to the last class. Now, the next one we have, I said, corrosion or solution. It has to do with solvents, materials, or chemical action inside water that helps to dissolve materials that are found inside that water. For example, I said calcium carbonate in limestone is easily dissolved and removed in solution. Now, when these materials dissolve inside water, they either change the taste of the water or they change the color of the water. Now, let's take an example. Clay soil. When water flow on a clay soil, when clay soil mix up inside water, what color do we get? Class, what color can we get?
A thick brown color.
A thick brown color. That is a chemical action inside water. The next point we explain has to do with attrition. Attrition has to do with the material that are being transported as they collide with each other or rub on each other during the process of moving or erosion. Large rocks are broken down into smaller particles as they collide with each other. I gave example of ice block. I said if you have ice cubes in a cup and you decide to turn and overturn them continuously inside two cups, from one cup to another, the size of the ice cube tends to reduce. That is attrition because they are rubbing on each other. Also, the sugar cubes you have, if you decide to turn them from one cup to another, they rub on each other, reduce the size and shape of each other. Some have a round shape and some are broken down into smaller particles. This process is known as attrition. And I also explained subtopic 2, which has to do with process of river transportation. Before I recap the process of river transportation, don't forget, under river erosion, we have 4 major processes. And we said 1, attrition, we have corrosion, class, hydraulic action, and then the last one is what?
Corrosion.
Very good, very good. God bless you. Very good, very good. It's not corona. Now, the next one we have is process of river transportation. Now, I said you should not forget that in geography, transportation means 2 things. One in physical geography and the other in human geography. In human geography, it has to do with the movement of people and goods from one place to another. While in physical geography, it has to do with the movement of materials from one position to another, or from their initial position to another position, thereby developing or creating a new land form. Now, processes of river transportation in physical geography. We have 1, suspension. Now, for suspension, this takes place when smaller particles such as silt and mud are carried in suspension as the water flows along river course. Now, let me take you to the course of a river again. Materials are carried from the upper course. Some are deposited at the middle course, while others are finally deposited at the lower course. Now, those materials that are finally deposited at the lower course develop features such as delta, either the extrusion delta, the mud flow, and the rest of them. Now, these are carried in suspension because the force or the energy with which the water flow from the upper to the middle is reduced. So those materials will be deposited for a particular time. When the force increase again, the material or the load will flow again. So in suspension, they flow from one time to another gradually. Sometimes their flowing is not noticeable. Kosi, hope you are not chatting because I'm going to check your chat. This smile is a smile of chatting. Okay. Oh, thank you. You see, somebody has given me weakness. Good. The next one we have is saltation. Saltation, this is the process where large particles are moved in series of hoops or jump along the river bed, touching the river bed and sides at interval as they are transported. Please, class, I want somebody to explain hoops for me. I have explained it earlier. I want to know if you understand what I mean by hoops. Yes.
It's like when the water is going,
No hopes.
when the water is going up and down later.
You are correct. Continue. When the water is not flowing straight, very good. Now, when it is flowing in a meander form, that is hoops. You know, horse, when they are running as if they are jumping. That process in a river, we call it saltation. That's a very good trial. God bless you. The next one we have is traction. Traction. I've explained this. I want somebody to talk on traction. Class, what is traction, please? Traction, traction.
The process where large fragments.
Yes, Matthew.
It's a process where large materials roll down the bed of the river.
Very good. Now, what happens to the river? What happens to the river when this material or fragments rolled or pushed along the bed? The bed means the ground of the river. So what happens to it?
Might expanded.
Very good. Kai, I'm impressed. This class is interesting. It makes the river to expand.
Yee.
Yes. Very good. Now let's continue.
I just baby.
Oh, that's a good trial. I see A in all your papers in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Very good. Now, the next one we have is saltation. Please, who can give a trial?
Saltation.
Saltation under river transportation. Sorry, solution. Thank you. That means you are with me. Solution under river transportation. Yes, solution.
When
like sand mixed with water to make a deep brown solution, then it's carried out. I see.
She's saying something. Say it again. Solution, please.
Solution is when the sand, when sand is mixed with the water in the river to make a thick brown solution. Then it is carried from the upper course of a river to the lower course.
Excellent. Excellent. That is a very good trial. Very good trial. God bless you. Now let's get to our evaluation for today's class. Class, please. I want us to answer this question. What do you understand by the word load? What do you understand by the word load?
The materials carried by the river.
Materials
carried by
the river.
Clapping for all of you, it means you are doing well. Now let's take the next question. The next question. A river transports its load through the following process. A, solution. B, suspension. C, traction. D, blocking.
Blocking.
Very good, except blocking. Now, number 2. Which of these is a process of river erosion? A, suspension. B, siltation. C, corrosion. And D, traction. Very good. The answer is corrosion. Whoa! 1 minute chin-chin for you. Yes. The next question is, the wearing away of the side and bottom of the river channel is called A, corrosion. B, suspension. C, corrosion. And D, solution. Corrosion. Very good. And the last question here is, the seasonal variation in the volume of water in a river is known as
Regime.
Regime. Very good. The question is simple. Regime, which means regime is a seasonal variation in
volume of water.
In the volume of
water.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now look at this assignment on this slide. I said, with the aid of annotated diagrams, describe the various stages of a river course.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, please, what's the meaning of annotated?
Your diagrams, you off your video and you are asking me questions immediately. You don't want me to see how you are pronouncing annotated diagram? Now, when you draw the diagram, make sure you label.
Look for it in the dictionary.
The diagram should be well labeled. You label upper course, middle course, lower course. Under the diagram, for the upper course, write your V-shaped valley, and then mention the features. Under middle course, mention features, interlocking spur, oxbow lake, the rest of them. Go to the lower course again, mention the features under your diagram, delta, and floodplain, and the rest of them. Now, mention 4 ways in which river is important to man. Importance of a river, class. Very simple. Angel, mention 4 importance of a river.
For country demarcation.
Angel.
My sons are agriculture.
For
Yes,
demarcation.
Agriculture. Anyway, that's your assignment. So please try to submit your assignment. Submit it through my email. My email is on the slide. We have come to the end of this class today. God bless you for your.
Please go back to the assignment slide.
You said?
Please go back to the assignment slide.
All right, Pastor, I will do that.
Thank you.
Very good. Why not finish the slide? Pastor? Have you done that?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Very good. So we have come to the end of our class for today. Thank you. Dania, pray for us. I wish you success in Jesus' name.
Yay.
Dania, pray for us.
Amen. Dania.
No, only people pray.
Okay. Maybe my spirit is leading me to you.
Because I'm able to say hi, everybody. My name is
Amen. I pray for a retentive memory.